Welcome back to iOS Basics Part 2. Today we'll be taking a look at the Calendar and Maps apps. This will be the second part in a 4-part iOS Basics series. I do recommend that if you have not yet viewed Part 1, you do that previous to viewing this presentation. Let's begin by taking a look at the Calendar app. As with many of the apps that are installed by default on the iPhone, there are many free alternatives available on the App Store that could potentially be better. In this case, let's look at the main alternative to Apple's Calendar app, which is Google Calendars. If you have ever used an Android device in the past, or you use a Gmail account as your primary email account, you may already be set up with Google Calendars. However, even though Google does provide a free app for its calendar service on the App Store, I do recommend using Apple Calendars as it is built into the system already, and that makes it a little bit easier to use. When you open up the Calendar app for the first time, you should see a view that looks similar to the screen that's on the slide right now. The first thing that we'll look at is adding an event to the calendar. This is fairly simple, and the first step is by pressing the plus button in the very top right corner. After you press the plus button, you'll be greeted with a view that looks like what's on the screen right now. We call this the New Event view. As you can see, there are many different fields to fill out, but there are two main areas that we need to focus on. The first is the title. This is how you'll view the event when it pops up on your phone. The second is the entire region that starts with all day and ends with travel time. You don't need to fill out every single one of these fields, but you do need to fill out the start time, which you can access by clicking where it says Starts. There are many other fields that you can fill out on the New Event page that are helpful but not necessary. One of them is location, which can be found under Title. This will simply add a location to your event when you view it on your calendar. The All Day button, if you select it, will create that event for the entire day. This is helpful for a vacation or a longer event like a wedding. Any new event you make will automatically make itself end 1 hour after the start time you choose. If you're very busy and you want to be more specific than that, you can add a specific end time as well by clicking where it says Ends. Furthermore, if you have a repeating appointment, you can press on where it says Repeat and make an event repeat, for instance, every Tuesday and Thursday. The final option that you see in the Date field is Travel Time. If you click on this, your phone will automatically add in travel time when it's notifying you so that you can know when to leave for your event. Although there are more fields that you can see on the New Event screen, I would not recommend pressing any of those buttons unless you do feel very comfortable and are more of an advanced user. As soon as you finish adding your event, you can press the back button and it will take you to a screen similar to the one that we saw 2 slides ago. This is where I want to highlight one of the buttons in the top right area of the screen. It is the one that's currently highlighted if you look at the slide right now. This allows you to switch between 2 different views in the Calendar app. One of them is called Locked and one of them is called Free. The one that we saw a minute ago was the free form, which will allow you to freely scroll between all of the different months in a year, and pressing on any individual day will zoom you into an hour-by-hour analysis of that day. The view that we see now is called Locked, and will show you 1 month at a time, and pressing on each day will show you in chronological order every event you have on that day. I prefer the Locked view because it doesn't zoom in as much, but you can easily toggle between them by pressing the red button that's currently highlighted in the top right region of the screen. Next, let's press on the Calendars button in the very bottom center of the screen. This will take you to the Calendars view, where you can toggle on or off different calendars that you may have set up. The 2 main calendars that you'll most likely see on your phone are your iCloud calendar and your primary email calendar. You can see looking at the slide right now that my primary email is a Gmail account, and so I have my Gmail email turned on. That's the one that's in the dark blue. You can also see I have the iCloud calendar turned on, which is light blue slightly further down the screen. You may have even more email addresses than I do, in which case you could have plenty of different options to choose from on this screen. The less you have, the more simpler this view looks, but it can be very helpful if, for instance, you had a work calendar that you wanted to keep separate from a personal calendar. Anytime you could go into this calendar view and turn off, for instance, personal calendar so you can just see your work events, and then go straight back in and turn it back on so you can see all of your events at once. This is also where you can adjust what color each calendar appears as, or if you wanted to, you could delete or add a calendar from this view as well. Finally, let's talk about deleting or editing an event that you have already created. The first step is to find the event on your calendar page and click on it. That should bring up a screen that looks similar to the one on the slide right now, where you'll see the title and the date, and you'll also see what calendar it's on. From here, you can see in the top right corner an edit button. This would allow you to make small changes to the title or the location or the date, start time, or end time. If you wanted to completely delete the event, you can see that option is in the bottom center of the screen. I would recommend editing an event as often as possible if you've made a mistake, as deleting the event can sometimes glitch out and cause two of the same event to pop up on your screen instead of just one. Next, let's look at the Maps app. This is an app field that has a lot of competition in it. The three main competitors are the ones that you see on the slide right now. First is Google Maps, second, Apple Maps, which is the one that is installed on your phone by default, and third is Waze. Each one of these apps has its own advantages and disadvantages. I would recommend Google Maps because it has the most complete map and also is less prone to glitches, which you might have heard about from the Apple Maps. However, both of the other ones are perfectly fine. Waze will normally get you there in the quickest route possible, but it'll also take you onto some streets that you've never heard of and normally ends up being a less comfortable driving experience. Apple Maps, as we discussed, can sometimes have issues where it'll take you down streets that are not at all where you're going. So, for those reasons, I normally recommend that people go to the App Store and download the Google Maps app, which is the one that is on the furthest left on the screen right now. The rest of the instructions in this presentation are going to be tailored for the Google Maps app, although they are pretty similar for the other two apps if you choose to use one of those. The first thing that we'll be looking at is getting directions, which of course is the main feature of any of these apps. In all three apps, you'll see a search bar in the very top portion of the screen. In Google Maps, it looks like what's on the slide right now, but it'll look very similar in the other two. All you have to do is click on this bar and start typing in the destination that you want to go to. You can type in city names, zip codes, names of specific stores, or, for the best results, full addresses. When you search for an address, sometimes it'll pop up with multiple options. In this case, you can look at the details of each one and select the one that you actually want directions to. As soon as you have, it will pop up with a screen similar to the one on the slide right now. This has a lot of different features on it. We'll start at the top of the screen. You can see right now it says your location, and right underneath that it says Capital One Cafe. The your location field is your starting point, and the Capital One Cafe is the ending point. By default, it will always use your location as the starting point, but you can change this if, for instance, you're planning a future trip. You can also change the end point, but they get that from the search that you had made on the previous screen. Underneath that, you'll see a lot of icons with different times next to them. By default, your phone will always show you the driving distance and time to your location, although you can select other ones like public transportation, which is the one directly to the right, walking, which is next to that, and ride-hailing like Uber or Lyft, which is also to the right of the walking icon. Each of those will show you a quick little highlight of how long it will take, and clicking on them will show you the distance and the actual route you will be taking. In this case, we're going to leave it on driving, as we normally will, and towards the bottom of the screen, you can see another couple of options. The most prominent information on the bottom of the screen is the time it will take, which you can see in green is 8 minutes, and next to that it will show you the distance. It'll also say P limited, which means that parking may be limited at the destination that we're going to, and underneath that you can see two buttons, Steps and Start. Steps will show you in chronological order all the steps that you'll be taking to get to your final destination. Start will only press when we're ready to go, as that will queue up the voice navigation system. Towards the middle of the screen, you can see that there are two different routes that Google has chosen for us to take. It will automatically highlight the faster route, which you can see is 8 minutes, but if you look slightly to the right of that, you can see there's another route that is 2 minutes slower that will take a slightly different exit. If you prefer the slower route, all you have to do is click on it, and Google will take you that way instead. If you look closely along the route, you can see that most of it is the color blue, although there are some sections that are yellow. This will actually represent the traffic along your route. Blue means that it's pretty much open and clear, yellow shows that there's some sort of slowdown, and red means that it's pretty much stop and go traffic. You can look at all the other different routes when there is heavy traffic to find the one that has the least traffic, although Google will normally recommend that as the first choice for you. As soon as you're ready to follow the directions, all you have to do is press the Start button, and your phone will automatically give you step-by-step instructions as you drive along. When you're done with your route, the Start button will change to an End button, and all you have to do is press that to cancel the navigation. Aside from getting directions, the Google Maps app can be helpful in other ways. In this case, we'll take a look at exploring using the Maps app. From wherever you are, you can just use your finger to scroll and zoom out or in to explore different parts of the world. If, for instance, you were planning a trip to New York City and you wanted to see what type of restaurants there were near your hotel, you could swipe until you're in New York, zoom in on your street, and take a look at all the restaurants that have listed themselves there. Whenever you type in a new city and you're seeing it for the first time, such as Walnut Creek in the case of the screen towards the left of the slide right now, it will pop up with something called Explore. If you swipe up from this, which you can see on the bottom of the screen towards the left, you can go through and look at all the different options you have for restaurants, bars, attractions, and more, such as gas stations or grocery stores. This is a really good way to get acquainted with a new city. If you look at the screen towards the right of the slide right now, you can actually zoom out all the way to looking at the entire continent of North America. So you can zoom in as close as a house or as far away as a continent. The world is your oyster with Google Maps. Google Maps also offers different types of maps for you to browse through if you don't like the political map that you see by default. So the default map, as you can see towards the bottom of the screen that's on the slide right now, will just show you a political map with some other added bonuses like traffic. But you can also look at a satellite map if that's what you prefer, which will show you data from Google Earth, another one of Google's services. Finally, you can look at a terrain map, which is very similar to the default map, although it will add in different bumps for hills and mountains. Towards the bottom of the screen, you'll also see something that says Map Details. If you took public transit a lot, you can click on the Transit button and it will show you all of the routes and times for buses and metro systems throughout the country. Pressing on the Traffic button will allow you to see the traffic information that we saw earlier. This feature is on by default. Furthermore, if you're a cyclist, you could click on the Biking feature and it'll show you the safest way to travel on every street on a bike. Finally, let's look at a feature called Your Places. Google Maps added in this feature so that you can easily access locations that you go to frequently without having to type in all of their information every time. The way you can add something to Your Places is first search up the location like we did on the first slide. When you do that, tap on the location that will pop up on the bottom of the screen to bring up a screen that looks like the one you see on the slide right now. This is what we call the location info page, where you can see different reviews for the place that you're looking at, but you'll also see a button that's called Save, which is towards the middle of the screen right now. If you click on that, it will automatically add it to Your Places. So in the future, all you have to do is type in the first or maybe first two letters of the name of that location, and it will automatically pop up for you in search. I normally recommend people do this for family member houses, their doctor's office, and maybe their grocery store or favorite movie theater. After marking any location as one of your places, you can go a step further and label it as well. First, we'll want to navigate to the Your Places screen by going back to the home screen that we saw on the first slide of the Maps presentation and clicking on the three lines in the top left corner. When you click there, you should see a feature called Your Places listed along the left side of the screen. That should bring you to a screen similar to the one that you see on the slide right now. There are two default labels that Google Maps gives you: Home and Work. I highly recommend everybody sets a Home label, because what that means is every time you need to get home, all you have to do is type home into the search bar instead of your full home address. Also, you might as well set a work label if you do have one consistent place that you go to work, as this will also allow you to just type in the word work to the search bar when you need to get directions to it. Outside of the default labels of home and work, you can also create other labels, such as children's house or doctor's office, that will also allow you to just type in those words when you're trying to get directions to that location. Those locations will show up in Your Places, and all you have to do is press the label button next to it in order to add it as one of your labeled places. That will conclude our second installment of the iOS Basics course. This video was proudly presented by IT Kid, your local residential tech help service. If you have any questions regarding the video, or you would like to schedule some in-home tech help, please feel free to contact us using the contact information in the bottom right corner of the screen right now. We hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you for part 3 of the iOS Basics course.